are you happy with the progress being made in the U.S. with regard to the oversight of their financial system?
We're
I'd like to answer that one.
Go ahead.
You can give them an A.
We're paid to worry, so we're never happy. That's our disposition. Just getting back to what the governor was saying in terms of the U.S. Regulatory agenda, the key elements, actual sound implementation on the ground. That part, there's still a lot of work to be done. The rules in terms of Basel III, in terms of capital, in terms of liquidity, the leverage ratio, those have been agreed. They haven't been implemented on the ground. So there is a lot of work to be done there. And it's going to be critically important that there's full implementation and that it happens in a way that is consistent globally, not just within the U.S. So that's a big piece. The other piece that remains, and that we and many others are spending increasing amounts of time on, is what's often called the shadow banking system or market-based finance. So in many respects, the easy part has been done. We've rewritten the rules for the regulated sector. There were serious gaps there. The rules have been rewritten. That's the sector that we have a lot of experience with, we know a lot about. The shadow banking sector, which, and just to give you, it's large. I mean, in the U.S., at the peak of the credit boom, it was double the size of the regulated sector. It's now still, it's shrunk dramatically because access to funding has been severely restricted, but it's still 25% bigger than the regulated sector. It does play a very important role in their economy in terms of providing diversification, providing innovation, providing competition. Having said that, what we don't want to see is having strengthened the rules in the regulated sector, activities simply migrating to the shadow banking sector. And so there has been an intensive effort coordinated through the Financial Stability Board, and the Americans have been playing a big part of this at the table, at getting a better understanding of all the activities of the shadow banking sector, how they're linked within the sector, and importantly the links to the regulated sector. It's a bit. You got to follow the money. What's the chain, and where can it break down? And then moving to what kind of measures would be effective in providing more resilience to that sector. And those, I'm not going to go through them all, but they would include things like regulating margin requirements. They would include things like looking at the links to the regulated sector and making sure that the regulated sector is taking appropriate provisions against the risks that if something goes wrong in the shadow banking sector. And then, importantly, also strengthening key parts of the core infrastructure, something we're calling central counterparties for OTC derivatives, that would limit the knock-on effects when one institution gets into trouble, and so limiting the stress and knock-on effects that has on other institutions. So to summarize, the regulated sector rules have been rewritten. They've got to be implemented, and we've got to deal with the shadow banking sector. And then lastly, we have to complete the work on too big to fail, so that no institution is too big to fail and taxpayers aren't on the hook. So until all that happens, we will not be happy.
Thank you very much.
Excellent answer. Anything to add to that, Governor?
No, I think that's very well summarized. I would only note one other aspect specific to the United States, which they have made some institutional changes as part of Dodd-Frank legislation, including giving the Fed responsibility for systemically important financial institutions, so which includes, so somebody is on the hook and is principal, and that in this case is the Federal Reserve, for those institutions who are too big to fail, which is broader than just big banks. And so that is a welcome development, and they have put that into place.
This is a comprehensive program of measures that includes, for the first time, bringing the shadow banking system, including hedge funds, within the global regulatory net. We will create a new financial stability board to ensure cooperation across frontiers, to spot risks to the economy, and together with the International Monetary Fund, provide the early warning mechanism that this new global economy needs. This is collective action, people working together at their best. I think a new world order is emerging, and with it the foundations of a new and progressive era of international cooperation. We have resolved that from today we will together manage the process of globalization